Okay, I think everything is starting. I'll know in 1 second. I'm going to make this official. Let's see. 2:07. It says upcoming. Okay, cool. Actually, we got it. Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Jason, and I'm going to be doing a jiu-jitsu breakdown of Dante Leon versus Mica Galvao 1 and 2. I've been wanting to do a Mica Galvao breakdown for a while now, but not only a breakdown of matches, I also want to talk as technically as possible when it comes to jiu-jitsu, because I feel like a lot of the time when you're looking for a move or you're trying to really understand something, the technique is itself is being expressed, but the body control and the body movement of the user, meaning you performing the move, is not mentioned as much, nor is, the operation of the other person really mentioned. And then also incorporating what I believe would be good training methods to, better your jujitsu in a different kind of way. Something you're not really gonna see in many places. So we're gonna start with this. Actually, no, this is the second one. We're gonna start with the first one. All right? Oopsies. So we're gonna open this up and we're gonna see how they start. So they immediately engage, which is good, and you see that Dante Leon immediately breaks the grip. He's looking for the head, looking for a grip. And a lot of times in these positions, you'll see that people are kind of just attacking each other, almost like bears, trying to get a grip, looking for an arm drag, a snap down, a way to duck under, get through the arms. But I think you can look at somebody like Gordon Ryan as the best example of kind of what to do in this scenario, but it's also a little different because he is heavier, and the strength discrepancies and the weight discrepancies and how you ratio that is very different at lower weight classes versus higher weight classes. Yes, Gordon Ryan can throw people around who are his size or, even bigger to a certain degree. But when you're this size, which is kind of they're like 20 pounds heavier than me or so. 15. But either way, they're fighting at, I believe, 170. And at 170, there's differentiating, strength levels. But in terms of how much that a person at that weight can actually lift, their own body weight at 170 pounds isn't really much, even with the resistance of, pulling yourself down and different things like that. So very different. Fighting for head positioning. You never really see too many wrist grips because everybody's always trying to fight the hands first off. It's the first barrier of defense. So there's a lot of interlacing, which also I gotta say, if you're gonna interlace, if you're gonna do that shit, if you're gonna play with people's fingers while you're standing up, don't wrap your shit. All right? Beautiful takedown by Dante Leon. And Mica himself, when it comes to getting taken down, is very comfortable in any facet. And you'll see it here. Immediately starts trying to get the guillotine, but is also trying to push his hips out at the same time. And you see a little bit of that extension. Watch again. Grabs on and pushes. There's that slight little push from here to here, scooting his butt out. So he has proper positioning. And that's, I can't even say high level. It's something that once you kind of integrate, I don't know what constitutes as high level anymore. Is it just complexity, or is it simplicity made to look easy? Simplicity should be easy, but Roger Gracie's jiu-jitsu is very simple, very basic, and he cuts through people like butter. So I want to talk about how to essentially coordinate your body a bit in these situations and what these athletes are doing or what I would do and different things like that. So here, Dante Leon's doing good by keeping a lot of top pressure on. And Gordon Ryan would call this inside camping, where he would start to bear his weight down. And you see kind of what the difference is. Mica can keep Dante Leon at a distance fairly easily, because 170 pounds to a 170 pound person really isn't that much. But you see at the higher weight classes when Gordon Ryan is riding people out, of course he's applying pressure, with his chest, with his hips in different various ways. But 230 pounds to hold up is still a lot, even for a 230-pound person. You know what I mean? Eventually it does wear on you. So inside camping, even when you're at a lower weight class, can work, and it will fatigue your opponent, but it works better at the later stages when the person already gets fatigued, rather than at the beginning where you're fighting for position. And when you're extending, trying to grab on like that, Mica is a master of capturing arms, and you never want to have your arm extended. You don't want to give him free range to get to that elbow. So we have a lot of, no pressure camping, essentially. And Dante's really giving him just time to work, I think. When you're in this position, a lot of people don't really, I think, attack the legs enough with their upper body and with their chest. I feel like a simple thing to do that I've had good results with is to start applying pressure with your chest on this top knee here and trying to flatten somebody out sideways. And that'll put them in a shrimping position where, of course, they can scoot their butt out. And you might also become vulnerable as you're lower to the ground. If they remove their knee from your chest, you are lower to the ground and you need to push yourself back up or raise yourself back up with your lower back. And I think there's a small little difference there that you'll experience when it comes to these positions. Are you raising yourself up because you're pushing up with your arms, or are you raising yourself up because you're using your lower back to flex you back? So we're going to continue here. And a lot of the times in these positions, it might not seem clear what kind of submission might happen, what they're really going for. There's a big focus on position here, and you see Mica trying to attack the back very well, berimboloing, got control of the leg. So we're going to go back a little bit, and we're going to start here. So I feel like Dante Leon made a mistake by not applying enough pressure onto the legs and focusing too much on battling the hands, which I get it is a problem because Mica, very flexible, very strong, very mobile, can reach himself up even from this position, grab onto your neck or head, shoulder crunch you, and then just start transitioning into an armbar. So you want to keep that distance. I get it. But here, while Dante's still holding on to that wrist, at the end of the day, you're not closing this part. And the most important part is the open hand. It's good to have wrist control, but if you're not strong enough to actually manipulate another person's body into where you want to put it, they're just going to reach around like he is right here. He lets it go, and then he starts getting into position here. So he has full control of the leg, kind of could transition into a Mikey lock, very Kyotera, or yeah. Is that his name? Regardless, my memory's a little fried. But he gets good control here, and he starts spreading the legs. And from here, he would be able to get full control of the leg if he shot it through, but he opted to go for the back. And then Dante Leon does a great job by using his arms to pull himself away, scooting his butt back, and then they re-engage. Kind of getting into the same position as before. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now Dante kind of gets a little overzealous here and starts jumping, but he has no reason to jump, where you see his left hand is getting ready to push Mica's knee through. Mica does a good job of hooking onto the thigh right here and creating friction. Also with the fucking, with the foot wraps, like it's a little, I don't know. I think you should be bare. If it were up to me, everybody would be wrestling naked, but I hear that's already a section on Pornhub. But regardless, he has a very good grip here. He also has, a little bit of friction from the ankle tie, the blue one that he has. So he pulls on through because he feels that Dante is going to push his knee out, keeps it snug to his chest. Watch this. Dante pushes it back for a moment. Mica immediately got his knee right back in there, still with control of the leg, but not the type of control he wants, as his left leg is over Dante's right leg and his right arm, or his left arm, is over it, under it. From here, you're really not going to get too much unless you completely focus on that leg. And in doing so, you will give up the back. And with somebody like Dante Leon, that would be a very big problem. So again, same position, a little bit more extended. Dante's putting more weight onto Mica, but even here, this isn't a very physically taxing position for Mica. This is still a restful, compressed, but still a restful position. And Mica would want to get this arm out of there. That's not completely keeping Dante there, and he would do better with a frame against. And from here, I feel like something that should be trained more often, and you see it in a lot of Russian workouts, and the reason they're so strong and able to throw people so well is they practice from positions where there is body weight compressing their own. So I feel like somewhere here, I would want to teach my students to start flexing your leg, get strong, treat this position as if it was leg extensions, like a leg extension machine at a gym. That would be my advice. So Dante Leon's still making the same mistake of reaching for Mica's hands and trying to control his wrists while keeping Mica's hands open. See, even though Dante is going for the wrist, this hand will always be open. And while there's nothing to really grab over here, it's a common habit, not only just done by Dante, but quite a lot of people. Basically, 100% of people who do jiu-jitsu have this issue. So just something to look out for and just to think about, for future rules. So Dante continuing to make the same mistake, and it gets him in trouble here as he gets brought off balance, because a concept that you need to understand is that the person's hand who is closed around the other is not necessarily the one who's in control every time, and it comes with, varying strength levels. So Mica's going to pull Dante forward because of Dante's grip, and jiu-jitsu is all about push and pull. So he's going to off-balance him. He went to grab his wrist, but he figured, he could just pull him back, raises from a compressed position all the way over, but he's not completely in position to take the back there. And the reason he wasn't completely in position, and we'll freeze it here, is that Mica's left arm is holding himself in that position. So while he does want to get to Dante's back, he even has the leg in a good position to start, going around. He locks himself with his left hand, with his left arm. And if he released, which would also still be a little difficult as he was only able to off-balance Dante for a moment, he would be able to bring his left hand around, grab on with his right hand to the hip instead of the shoulder, and start attacking the lower half of the body, where Dante would it would essentially turn into a scramble where where Mica would be a little bit more behind Dante, prompting Dante to get into more of a turtle position. Dante would end up somewhere a bit over here instead of right in position to start attacking guard again and get himself somewhere that's not as vulnerable. So we'll go through this again. Mica does a good job lifting him, locks himself in place, and opts to attack the shoulder. You see Dante was onto it, tried to grab onto his wrist, and it was just an instinctual reaction, innate reaction that you're going to get. So he tries pushing from a very strong point, mind you. This is essentially why it didn't work. He got caught up in two different paths of thinking. He wanted to get to the back, but then he was also trying to break the base of Dante Leon, which the very top of it, this isn't going to break it. Okay? So he used this as more of a turning point to try to get himself around to Dante's back. And the reason it didn't work is because he locked himself in place with this arm here. So he could have, at any point, just something to work on if you were to review as like a position like this, either try to break the base by taking the right hand and putting it right on Dante's wrist to then extend him outward, where even if, Mica wasn't as behind as he would have been if he used that right hand to cup onto Dante's right hip to push him through and attack the lower body, he still would have brought him a little somewhere out here, which then would have gave Mica enough room to swing his right leg right over Dante's right leg and then start to get into a kind of calf slicer position and then get himself up to start attacking the back. Probably would have, ended with a Granby roll by Dante. Maybe a little too late, maybe just in time. We'll never know. The sequence of events didn't happen. So, one more time. Again, there were two paths of thinking and neither was executed as well as it should have been. So, it almost seems like he was trying to get to the hip there, but he went the other route, didn't free up his arm, and now he reinforces as he feels he will lose the position with Dante getting more on top of him, getting into mount if he just passes this knee, which would not be good. So he reframes, and now he attacks the frame correctly by going onto the elbow and stopping the forearm from getting into play. And I'll try to get more through this. This is a long match, and I'm not even 2 minutes in. You know what I mean? But not even a minute in, just to the actual match, let alone the video. Mica really fighting for that right leg. Dante doing a good job of not letting him get complete control of it. But he's not utilizing that left leg enough, and that's what gets him caught right there. So I understand that you need your left leg in this position. His right leg's being attacked. Dante needs his left leg in order to stabilize himself. But this is where leg pummeling comes in handy, especially at the higher weight classes with Gordon Ryan, who can keep that base on the ground regardless of anything. Being able to take that left leg and then pummel back, lifting it up and riding shin to shin with Mica, getting both of Dante's hands to the middle here, probably would have done a little bit better attacking the shoulder line, or at least the shoulder all the way to the knee line, and getting both legs on one side, pushing Mica to the other, and then trying to knee slide from there. So Mica does a great job, still controlling the leg, going for a sweep, but I just feel like this position hasn't been working well enough, and he's trying to go under, has complete control, but this is kind of a double-edged sword, man. This is kind of a double-edged sword where if you are able to pass this knee, you have very free range to the back, or at least a very awkward quarter guard. So Mica continues to play guard. Dante is trying to find a way to pass. He's not utilizing that left leg enough and continues to try to fight with the hands, understandably, but at the same time, maybe it's better to switch to 4 attacking points on his 2 attacking points. What I mean by that is Dante's legs and arms attacking just Mica's legs. And that comes with good head movement. While this isn't boxing, head movement is something that is underutilized by most people, super utilized by Mica Galvao, and you're able to see that in the J-Rod fight, or the J-Rod match, but he does a very good job at moving his head in certain moments so that nobody gets control of his neck. And it's those little tiny things that really make a difference. So even here, now we have Dante trying to ride him out. And you see how easy it is for Mica to extend. Takes a little bit of energy, of course, 100%. But after a struggle like that, this is, I would say, a very decent game plan by Dante to start now wearing on the legs as much as possible. Mica's been here before, breathing calmly, still through his nose. Takes this time to relax. He is taking this time to relax, and that's what you don't want, essentially. He's trying to feel. So a lot of the time people wonder why somebody is looking away during a roll or things like that, and it's one of 2 reasons usually. One of 3 reasons. One reason is they're looking at somebody in the crowd. The second reason is that they are tired and they're looking for help. And the third reason is that they are feeling their body. They are feeling the positioning. So they don't have to use their eyes necessarily to feel exactly where their limbs are. Proprioception. Um, so that, I hope that kind of answers that if you've ever wondered. So now he puts his eyes back on the ball. Here, resting position. Resting position, just, okay, I don't have to use my eyes as much. Your eyes do take a lot of calories. They do take a lot of energy. So to just kind of relax yourself and feel your body more so than using your eyes is a restful state. From here, again, Dante's still trying to attack the arms, but in attacking the arms, he's holding Mica down, but it doesn't take a lot of energy to do that, to spin out. So the energy efficiency and the balance in terms of what Dante is doing, Mica is being more efficient right now. While Dante is trying to wear on him, Mica is more efficient with his energy, goes for a roll, tries to commit, realizes that he couldn't get to the back, goes for the passing, now gets the back, beautiful back take, and we're definitely going to review that, but we're going to see where it ends first, and then we'll back up. Dante Leon doing a great job defending himself, spins out, gets caught with the arm. Mica, a master at transitioning between moves, kind of has that triangle. Oof. And Dante gets out. So this is, I would almost say, depending on the weight class, a very even energy expenditure position due to, it depends. It depends on the frame of moment. But let's go all the way back to see why this happened. So Mica finally found that opening that he was trying to get. He was distracting Dante with, not distracting, but, you know, he was going for a different route to kind of try to control the legs to get to the back. That wasn't working. So Mica, with some very high fight IQ, decides that it's better to get under his opponent. So he's letting Dante have control, slips on under, and this is very quick too. A lot of people would have just gotten sat on and ate. They would have been eating ass. But for Mica, granted, you know, still there, gets right under, goes for the leg. In going for the leg, his feet position here, he's in very good position to, one, get up, and two, get inside Senkaku and really start to control. Now with that flexibility, he's able to flatten out his leg, come on over. This is flexibility. A lot of people can't get in this position to be able to incorporate that move. I can barely get in that position without going, oh, my hip. For him, this is just butter. So he gets on up. Dante trying to attack the legs, trying to push off, but just doesn't have the bottom of the foot planted on his knee and decides to flatten out himself and make sure that Mica doesn't have too much of his, Dante doesn't have too much back exposure, so Mica can capitalize on that. But now, in this change of position, there's a change in mindset. And it usually swings in the favor of the person who just did the sweeping to get on top. So now Dante's very defensive, and he completely lets go of any reasonable attacking kind of game plan and puts himself in a scenario where he tries being aggressive with no real path in his mind to go anywhere. And, that happens. A lot of people don't think when they're competing, and some people say it's not good to think when you're competing, So, to kind of push this forward, Mica's got great positioning on that left ankle, pushes it out, gets Dante's legs all the way to the side, something that Dante should have been focusing on, but Mica wasn't so aggressive, nor did he have his feet up this high. Mica just had complete control of his legs, and Dante, out of position, decided that it would probably be good to attack Mica's legs completely, what's the word? He tried to not give Mica back exposure prior, only to give him back exposure. So it should be alarm should be going off in your head when both of your feet are being controlled against somebody's lats, not just, they're grabbing onto your feet. There is complete bodily control. Mica tosses them to the side, pushes Dante's legs down, and understands that back is exposed. Beautiful. Dives right over, gets his legs into position, gets a good bite with his right arm over Dante's right side. So he goes on under and immediately cross bodies him with his forearm, reaches up to try to get kind of a body lock. I feel like he still should have focused his left arm on the midsection of the body, retracts it back, understands that he needs to do that after he gets a good bite on Dante's right side, and now it's a matter of pulling. And Dante doing a good job making sure that the hooks don't come over conceptually, because Mica is so flexible that pushing his legs, as you can see here, actually gives him more room to get over. So he pushes Mica's legs. Mica doing a great job at staying attached, hand over the shoulder, other forearm across the body, gets that right leg over. So imagine they're both legs, essentially. And now he just needs to climb his way up. I feel like when you're in a position like this, don't fight the legs. Fight the thing that's closest to you, not the thing that's farthest from you, which is the shoulders. Which I get it, might be difficult to remember in the moment. But from here, and while he is going to roll out, and we'll discuss the rollout, pushing down on that shoulder definitely would have made a little bit more of a difference, and he would have been able to scoot out completely from there. Dante doing a great job at this point as he's getting lower, making sure that those legs don't come over. And Mica's very flexible, almost getting it. Dante almost getting his arm trapped, doing a great job trying to stick to the mat so he can roll over, keeps that leg away. And now, if Dante can sit up, that's the thing. From this position, you can continue to roll as Dante is going to roll, or you can start to sit up. And this is where your lower back muscles really come into play. We, for the most part, do not have lower backs strong enough to kind of extend ourselves out from this position. But at the same time, with Mica's legs not having the control that he wants, if Dante was able to step up from here, he'd be able to use his head as the top of the tripod and then get up to his feet, continue to fight the legs with his hands, or, like he does now, brings him back up as Mica started to try to attack the neck instead. Tries to attack the neck, but Mica out of position, and now you see the transition to the arm bar, and man, it turning, tossing, it almost doesn't matter. Mica, once he has a bite on that shoulder, it's like Islam Makhachev when he has a front headlock position. It's so difficult to get them off of you from there. So we're going to continue to watch. So now gets almost in a triangle position, Dante doing a great job with defense, keeping that X across, lifting up. So he puts pressure on himself, but at the same time gets Mica to start working. Mica tries to go for that arm bar, and man, you can almost feel that. Yeah, you see the grimace on his face. Mica is so strong. All he did was pull the arm to his chest. Wasn't even able to extend his hips. Would snap anybody's arm for the most part. And even here, being under the leg as well, it puts him in a less advantageous position to get the arm bar, but I mean, you see it on his face. His hips are so strong, and he's used to this position. I mean, look at the thighs on this man. Even a slight arch like that still hurt. Now, trying to go for a leg, gets on under, almost kicks Dante in the face, and we're back in the same position. So now there needs to be a reset of the mind from Dante's part. Mica is still flowing. So you see a little bit of here. Interesting. So, is that Mica doing that? I think it is. Honestly, I kind of like that. So, from what I can tell, what Mica's doing is he's pulling on the neck in repetition. You know what I mean? And I don't think anything's going to wear you out more than just doing some neck reps and then licking his knee. Very good tactic on being efficient with his own energy by Mica while also making Dante expend more than he needs to. And it might not seem like it always matters because you're rolling in just in your school. The mats are safe wherever you are. You have good instructors, good training partners. So you don't really get to see too much of the live stuff in the training room unless you're doing live days and you're being coached and monitored to actually go to that level. But we're in a pretty similar position as to the beginning of the match where Mica has now kind of defaulted to muscle memory from what I can tell in terms of, okay, we're going to try. Yeah, this just makes no sense. What he's trying to do here is he has position, of course. Dante has a very good defensive position from here. Almost gets knocked off. And you don't necessarily want to be on your toes because you can roll over on your toes and you give yourself a little bit less traction. And there are trade-offs to being on your toes versus being on the soles of your feet. But he does a good job recovering and not getting pushed over. Like, this is a lot of pressure, too, on the toes. Don't get me wrong, because from here, you even see with the pinky toe, which is what I was going to bring up, you might actually end up breaking it, as for the most part, from wearing socks and shoes for most of our lives, our toes are very close together, with our feet. The sides of our feet tend to curve in unless you've made conscious efforts to, wear wider shoes or put toe spreaders on and things like that. So in this position, and you see the rollover of the pinky toe into the soles of the feet, you don't want to break your pinky toe. Something as simple as that. Just how do you correct that? How do you fix something like that? Put toe spreaders on. Start thinking about jiu-jitsu as, try to incorporate more yoga. Try to think about why you're weak in a certain position. Like, if you just have somebody laying on you, if you can't actually get up from a certain position, you're weak. And you see that the greatest example is, and I know this might sound very flagrant and bullshit, or I'm rage baiting, but Hamza versus Dricus du Plessis. Plain and simple. Dricus was, regardless of technique, not strong enough to get Hamzat off of him. He was not able to get himself in a position to actually get him off. And even if he was in a good position to, Hamza is so good at utilizing his body weight to apply pressure back and forth, and, uses the attributes of, say, like a snake or a bear or some other animal to, bring into his game. So, very similar position. Mica just keeps trying to get up, and he's trying to get control of the head. But at this point, now this is energy inefficiency by Mica Galvao, as he's just doing crunches, which is just going to wear you out. This is for no gain whatsoever. This is you're not going to win a positional battle, especially if you don't really know what you're doing. So he just opts to get up, kind of wastes a lot more energy. And Mika's he's decided he's going to be way, way more aggressive now. Needs to turn up the heat. For the most part, I don't think he's losing. I think he's winning. He's been on the attack. He's been pressing the action even from bottom guard. And, he's gotten the closest to submitting Dante versus Dante not even getting close. Again, in terms of even here, man, this is a 50-50 position, as Dante's scared to get guillotined. Mika's, you could say, scared to get taken down, but at the same time, he's not, as, what he does. He engages with him immediately. So while Dante has the ability to get the single leg, that guillotine is still there, or at least the head control is. Beautiful, beautiful hip mobility, able to turn his knee to the side, back and forth, spins out, gets it out. Beautiful work by Mica. Dante pressing the action. And now even this almost doesn't make too much sense to me, but we're going to let this sequence play out. So it doesn't seem like any of that was planned for the most part. It was just fortunate situation of a sequence. So hanging on each other, trying to actually get somewhere. Again, a duck under, arm drag, whatever, a snap down, those three things. Just plain pushing against each other is always going to work in the favor of the person who remembers first in the moment, that I can bring them to. If they're going to push me, I'll guide their energy below me and snap them down, or I'll guide it to the side or up, duck under, whatever it may be. So I think that's why you see Gordon Ryan so good in these scrambling positions, because he's always neutral, you know? And when you're always neutral, you're not pushing, you're not pulling, you're just in a position to counter. And then in that countering mindset, he's trained himself enough, and some people who have that countering mindset have trained themselves enough where they can just enter a sequence of moves and go from there. You know, it's there's so much complexity that you have to make it simple in reaction. So you have pushing by Dante, pushing by Mica. Mica tries to utilize that by stopping there, pushing forward, snapping down, using Dante's momentum to get down. But sometimes Mica has a problem here, and this problem is that he puts himself in a position that might not be so good because he's comfortable everywhere. And he can take a lot of chances because he's so good defensively, offensively, being neutral, whatever it might be. He is a master, an actual master of jiu-jitsu. So he puts himself in these unfortunate situations where he pulls him down, he tries to get head control. Dante lifts up immediately, and at this point, you know, he's dragging Mica's weight, and there's really not too much he can do as Dante, strong neck, strong back, gets the body lock, turns over, gets on top. Beautiful takedown, but it's more so just a lucky sequence of events, more in, you know, capitalization on the opportunities, more so than it is a planned thing. So again, Dante trying to put pressure. He doesn't exactly have that chest pressure on those legs. And I think that a lot of people, especially at the lower weight class, if you want to tire these people who are your size out, or even bigger, it doesn't really matter. You know, it is hard to get your sternum onto their knee, as you're going to have to bring your legs back to almost plank on them. But if you build enough upper body strength where you can control the legs so that Mica doesn't pull you into a guillotine, or, you know, push you down to then try to transition up on top of you, Craig Jones style, onto your back, you know, being able to hold somebody in a certain position to then apply pressure on their weak points being their outer hip. Your hip flexors out here on the sides, while strong, while resilient, they are prone to energy loss much quicker than other places, as it's not too much of a muscle that you use in rotation unless you're doing, you know, jiu-jitsu. Most people sit, so there's not a lot of rotation and a lot of pull, which is why you see people can't get into a butterfly position straight back and then put their knees to the floor. But wearing on those little muscles will do more for Dante over time, or anybody over time. Being in just a compressed press-to-press position like this, while tiring after you've been grappling very hard for 6 minutes, isn't going to cause extra energy loss. That, although, if Dante is just trying to get Mica to be reactionary, to try to make him do more so that Dante can just lay on him, not a lot of muscle, not a lot of energy expended there, Mica's using more energy here. And if you want to just be able to tell very simply who's using more energy, who's moving more in that moment and being successful with those movements. Mica has been moving more, but not, you know, he's not changing the position as much as he wants to. And even there, a lot of energy expended by Mica, not to really get anywhere, while Dante can just ride this wave. As you see, he could just sit back, sprawls back, and then starts attacking. You know, now he understands it's his time to start attacking, gets into a position, and okay, puts him back right where they were. So he's still trying to figure it out, of course, and now you see him attacking the foot more, attacking the lower body more, which is good. But I would almost say that you want to take this hand, put it on top, and line your forearm up with Mica's shin. Get on top of that knee and try to move from there. Now, if you're going to do that, make sure it's to actually get into a position where you're going to make Mica use more energy, your opponent use more energy. Whereas opposed to if you're just going to cup on and try to move it, there is more energy expenditure in your shoulder to your finger trying to keep a leg down versus a leg just being able to be in the same position and just moving up and down to shake off an arm. So we're going to continue. Mica using a lot of energy, pushes him away, trying to reset the position, but really to no avail. Really just to continue to do what he's been trying to do. Tries to get under again, but from the outside. Didn't have enough inside foot position to actually bring Dante up. Dante does a great job. This is beautiful. So right there. While it was only for a moment, you only need to do it for a moment because your body is not going to go anywhere that your head isn't going. So Dante puts his hand right on his head, compresses him right there, and that's enough to make Mica get into a position where he turned his head off a more advantageous position. So you see Mica still turned to the side. He would actually do better if his ear was to the mat to then bring from a sideways position Dante over him as opposed to being turned here. So looking forward, having the body turned, having the hips turned a little bit more instead of being here where your body is more aligned. And that slight little thing of just putting pressure right on Mica's head allowed it so he couldn't come up and he couldn't take the back. He couldn't get that inside foot positioning to get Dante over him. Opts to start attacking the legs, gets a good bite. From there, more energy expenditure by Mica. Dante, while, kind of doing the right things and being defensive, but also trying to wear Mica out, and you see it by the pools of sweat Mica is dripping. This does wear on Mica. But now he found exactly what he needed to. Ooh, and Dante still beautiful with the defense. You got to give all credit in the world to Dante Leon. I know he's like 150 wins and 50-something losses. Quite literally, it's a quote-unquote it's a winning record. But you go and look at who he's competed against. I mean, Kynan twice. You know what I mean? Just to put in perspective, Dante is game for anyone, anything, anytime. He just goes out there and he loves to scrap. And I think another person who's kind of taken that place of I don't give a fuck type of attitude, almost with basically the same build, is Andrew Tackett. But we'll discuss him in a different video over time. For now, we'll reverse for a second. So Mica getting a good bite, doesn't really amount to anything as great defense by Dante riding the waves, sprawling, getting his hips up, and utilizing that leg motion to get back down to the ground. Mica opts to just push away. Dante doing a great job holding onto that ankle to still be close enough to re-engage. And from here, Mica's just going to use a whole bunch of energy saying, fuck it, I'm going to extend you up to try to get in. And he almost could have had a very, very good bite. But Dante getting his... hold on. Let's see this. So, Dante, very privy to it. Gets a good... Yes, okay. So to kind of talk about this, and then he extends... Yeah. So while Dante did a good job riding it, Mica really is in a good position to attack the legs from here. I think at this point, the reason he doesn't get anything is just because his proficiency of leg locks was not high enough here. And it actually is something overall. If Mica does have one weakness, he has been tapped twice to some form of a leg lock. So there is a weakness in his game, and I think that weakness for the most part stems from the fact that he feels very comfortable in any position. You know what I mean? And especially if you're going to attack an armbar on Mica, or you're going to attack a choke on Mica, anything, he's so sure in his strength and technique and his upper body that he's really not worried about it, so much so that he can get out of those positions and almost nobody really even attacks them. So it makes you wonder, for how long are those instincts for his defense going to stay sharp? But his lower body, while strong, again, his Achilles heel, no pun intended, but he has been submitted twice by a variation of a leg lock. From here, at this point, this is just bad execution, extending Dante and being complete. Like, he needs Craig Jones here. This is a little bit too complicated for me to make a real, analysis and opinion. I can just visually see if we're gonna look for some type of mistake, or not even so much a mistake, but like in positioning, a mistake in rotation, in momentum itself, where he comes down a little bit too late. It would have been good to drop down to that hip, but also with Dante's foot in that middle line. And that would have allowed Mica to be able to attack on the outside or attack on the inside. For the most part, I'm going to try to let this go on and make comments and go back when I really feel the need to, because these positions are getting very repetitive. And while some small things are changing in terms of game plan, in terms of what each person is trying to do, I think the key thing to take away as we just keep watching is who is being energy efficient and how they are doing that. Whether it's by doing just enough to make their opponent expend more energy than they're using based on a trap that they're setting, or is it that they're just being restful and knowing when to be restful? Like even right here, Dante does a good job just trying to now he's trying to pressure pass. Good. He got past that leg. He got past it in a very interesting way as well. I actually really, really like the way he did this. And I feel like this works more as fatigue starts to set in, and definitely not in the beginning, where Mica kind of just relaxed here, and then his knee was no longer in an optimal position to keep Dante away. As you see, that's why Dante's it was ever so slight. That's the thing too. It wasn't this big thing of trying to jump down. He casually just lowered himself, starting with his head, and then got his right arm to start controlling that ankle, and then dives on over. Good frames by Mica, not allowing Dante to get too close. Gets that knee back into place. Probably won't let that same mistake happen, maybe. We got to watch the match. And just like that, as I talked about, not too many people attack the upper body of Mica because he is so strong, but it's just that confidence level of Mica, like, bitch, get the fuck off of me. You're not taking my arm. Very quick to make sure that Dante is not taking his arm. Dante, in going for that, put himself in a vulnerable position to get swept. Does get swept, comes back up, and then Mica, I think you're seeing the fatigue here. I think you slowly see that Mica, as time goes on, does start to fade. He is able to bring it back, and you see it in the J-Rod fight, but I think it's more so just based on momentum. I think Mica has a very bad tendency to relax too much in these positions where he thinks he is safe. So he ends up falling over, trying to get that leg, ends up getting back and retaining guard very well. Very, very well. That flexibility is, that's the thing that really, really helps him. So, you want to get better at jiu-jitsu? Work on your flexibility. Go get some toe spreaders. Every part of your body counts. And then even here again, just repetitive, tedious positions where, we're just wearing on opponents. We're trying to figure something out from bottom guard on Mica's part. But for the most part, there's been no change in game plan. There's been no, you know, urgency to try to figure out a different path. Look at that flexibility. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that. How many of you, I can't fucking do that. I'll try that right now. Hold on. I'm gonna ship my colon out. Yeah, no, that's not a super comfortable position, especially when you're just laying on the ground. You know what I mean? It could be done. It could be done, but yeah, as soon as I start bringing this leg a little bit closer to my head, yeah, a little uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, what can we tell from this position? I think we can tell that Mica's got very, very good guard retention. Dante fighting for his life, trying to just pass this man's guard. Got very close, but he's probably, again, in my opinion, not going to have that same opportunity to just casually get as close to chest as possible. Mica trying to explode with energy, almost gets to the back, almost gets under to try to butterfly him in. He is on this foot. It was a little bit tighter. Here, that's tight enough. That's tight enough. Yeah, and you see the reaction by Dante, knowing that he needs to keep that foot to the ground. Yeah, that right there, that little torque, yeah, that hurt. Dante doing a good job getting that foot to the inside, opening up the hips of Mica so that there's no more pressure on that knee. So even here, he's just kind of cranking on it, and now he's transitioning into a straight ankle lock, which fucking hurts like a bitch. I'll tell you from experience. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done with the match, and then the second match is fairly short, so we'll get to it. We'll get to it soon. I assume, even though 5 minutes is gonna pass, that there's some sort of overtime. Maybe we'll see. Back in position, and they go from there. Mica just trying to extend him out to get Dante to pull back in. But Dante, where he screws himself, is hyper committing on something that he has no business trying to commit on. This works on lower, less experienced people. And that... So this right here. Overextends. Mica's leg slips out, pushes out completely, and then he's able to bring it back oh so close. And I think something like that in the gym needs to be trained. I think short little transitions need to be drilled more so than, all right, we're going to go from, we're just going to get from here to here. I think we should practice literally this tiny little sequence. Have somebody overcommit, trying to get to an arm, leg slip out, see how fast you can bring that leg in, which might, you might end up kneeing your opponent. So you got to be safe. You could take things slow. But I think if we put, like at the start of class, if we say like what we're going to focus on, which is guard retention, if we're going to focus on guard retention, we're going to start you in these very awkward positions at times. And what you're going to do is just try to retain some form of guard. Bare minimum, we'll say butterfly guard, or bare minimum, we will say that you have to get back to close guard or something like that. The top person, the person who's attacking, committing, their job is to, one, commit, and two, just not let them get guard. And that could come in the form of trying to go for a submission, which I would lean against, just in the form of drilling, but then add that into the next layer of drilling to keep things more real, to keep things honest, because you always have to be open to the fact that you will probably get submitted. So we'll continue from here. Let me grab my water. Same tedious positions. And from here, Dante's not going for he's not pressuring anymore. He's loose passing, which I think can be a good strategy, but you see, like, just keeping in mind how good Mica is at guard retention, I think your best chance of beating his legs are up close and not by loosely passing. It does prompt Mica to get up, as he was feeling that he's using way too much energy. He is. And I think out of both people, I think you can see that Dante is the slightly fresher one. Still breathing, you know, fairly controlled. Mica kind of taking those bigger, deeper breaths at times, trying to attack. So comfortable in these tight positions where he knows he can just slip that leg out. He slips it to the side. He doesn't slip it up, and again, it just comes with that flexibility on the outside of your hips that he could just turn his leg over 90 degrees and then slip it out. Very, very strong. Yeah, there we go. He's trying to hype himself back up. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Trying to switch that mindset. There's 4 minutes left. He knows how to push. He knows how to tap into that gas tank. There's still a little juice left in there. He was conserving himself, but now he wants to get on the attack. He's definitely winning for the most part, in my opinion. But as Dante just keeps shooting for these takedowns and getting them, I think things are going to start to swing in the favor of Dante Leon. Just because he is starting to execute. He's almost chest to chest here, which is good. And from here, now Mica's trying to think about answers. You know what I mean? And I feel like another something that would be good is kind of an X crossface, but you gotta be very careful as to what arm you're putting over and under. I think in this position, it's fine to have your left arm cross facing, using your wrist to push, so that way you can still have your hands open. You can use hand and really get that push in there, and you're gonna have to coordinate your legs as well. Having like for example, Mica's right leg, you're gonna have to almost push, like switch positionings and push Dante lower so you can get that right leg out from under him, but he's pushing to the opposite side, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. So I would say if he's going to be looking for anything, it's kind of just more so breaking that lock. He could definitely utilize that leg, of course. The buggy choke could be there, but it would definitely compress. It would definitely compress you from there. But I think even here, beautiful work by Mica. He's kind of being a little mean there. Love it. But that buggy choke is there. Would it be the tightest buggy choke? I think it can be, depending on how Dante reacts to it. But, it's almost never safe to kind of keep your head and arm on one side from half guard or from side control or anything these days. Everybody knows the buggy choke. Same positioning, just trying to lift and either try to get to the back from the outside or the inside, turning under, but Dante's still going for the same thing. And I guess if I were to make a suggestion on how you could start to change this, one, I think the most important thing is definitely just getting, if I was Dante, I would want to get my right foot in a position to break out of this lock. I don't want to break out yet because that's going to prompt Mica to do very different things. And I would start attacking this side completely. And the reason you would start attacking this side is in a fashion of bringing Mica's knees, this knee, let's back that up. Bringing Mica's right knee to his left knee. You see his arm is trapped underneath. He'll only have his right arm to fight. And while he does have a great amount of mobility and flexibility in his torso and hip region, I think if you were to start to wear down on Mica, say, you're able to put that chest right to his hand, Mica could stop it from that straight arm position. But I think Dante should bring his left leg and then slide his shin right across from here. And the reason being is, again, you want to bring this closer together, but you also want to be careful with your right leg, as you can just end up snapping your shit if you're not careful. So that's why I say, before any of that, position your foot to get out and position your knee to bend in the direction that Mica's knees are going to be falling. So if Mica's knees are going to be falling like this, Dante's knees, I think, should be falling this way, and his knee should land somewhere over here. And I think it would just get him into this weird kind of quarter guard to then a very dominant half guard by beating this knee. And I think you can definitely get this, seeing as how Mica's foot is also hooking. He's hooking himself onto Dante's right leg. So if we just let this play out, I think Dante's mistake is that he doesn't end up riding it this way. And you can collapse. You can completely collapse both of Mica's legs from there. This is a good position to then, be able to get your ankle out. Your knee needs a little bit more turn. And I don't think it should come by turning his whole body. I think it should come by opening up the hip so that it falls down this way. In opening up the hip will allow, say, moving the toes a little bit under, more so than trying to pull the ankle. If he's pulling the ankle, try to move the toes, use your hip, open up the knee, slide that left shin right over. This is a little high for what I would like, but it would still be viable. Here is when I would really start to do it. I think he turned out too much to really make it fully executable, but still would be worth his while to kind of change the pace of things and actually get into a better position. But instead, he's pinching here, and then Mica does a great job by falling to the other side, which is good. He brings him there. I just think Dante made the mistake of trying to push that knee. You know what I mean? He's trying to get a good grip on it, but yeah, he let go with this positioning, which I think his right hand is right where it needs to be to also give him more leverage to not blow out his own knee as he's collapsing to the side. But Mica doing a good job bringing him to swinging him over. Now we just continue. Dante taking some breaths. Mica sees it, tries to attack, but all he kind of does is waste a little bit of energy by crunching up to kind of get nothing. And I think that's why you got to be fearful of those lazy brown belts that are just on their sides in the fetal position, or like a dog waiting for his stomach to be scratched. They're just there so that way, we'll go back as I'm talking nonsense, but they're just there ready to kind of just get a grip on you and then, manipulate your goddamn body, and they're being so energy efficient. You're like, how is this fat fuck that's clearly out of breath kicking my ass? I got a full gas tank. So I think Dante just got a little knee to the nose, nothing major. Again, overly committing. This is the third time now he's just kind of tried to throw himself. He tried knee cutting this way, but he just gave way to, being in a cross position where Mica's just going to win this every time, having been under him. And if Mica was quick enough, had the energy, he could have grabbed onto to Dante's hip there, used it to get up. I think that's something else. This is a younger Mica. He's definitely improved a lot since this match, but little things like that where I would definitely try to focus more on getting up when you see the butt. All right? Get up when you see the butt. New Viagra commercial. So this was just unfortunate as it was just slippery. And I don't think there's anybody better at taking advantage of somebody slipping or falling than Tom Aspinall. Go watch his fights. Anytime a dude's butt cheek or knee touches the mat, they get flattened out immediately. So he slips, gets his leg out, gets in a good position, strong, fighting back, but yeah, now we're starting to see a bit more control. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, these boys are definitely tired. Let's see. It's probably going to go an extra couple of minutes. So that right there, this is still, they're pushing against each other. Dante's losing the battle, loses the strength in his lower back, just kind of trying to rest on him. And Mica just takes advantage of that, where he's like, okay, if you're just going to, be in this position where your base is back here, but your head is in front of you, that means you're leaning on me. So lean on the floor. He's so close. If his foot was just a little bit more out, definitely could have got there. Great sprawl recovery by Mica. Pulls guard and just stupid. No reason to pull guard like that. Absolutely no reason to pull guard like that. I know he wants to try to get control of Dante, and Dante, has a very strong neck and back where, it's very hard to snap him down, let alone get that front headlock position, because he will just lift under you like you saw prior in the match. Tries jumping guard into essentially nothing, and landing on the ground like that takes some energy out of you. It really does. So, same tedious position. Mica tries to kick out. He knows he needs to get up. Take him towards the middle. Let's see how this is going to go. Continues to kick, trying to gain positioning. If you're going to kick, so let's walk through why this doesn't work and how you can make it work. So Mica's leg, for one, is under Dante's leg. So there's a little bit of a pinch there. So even though Mica has this foot on his hip, very good place to do it, he needs to first bring his leg down onto the mat, which will leave him susceptible to getting knee sliced. But at the same time, if he starts to train it, he can then turn his body. His head should end up out here, while the momentum of Dante should be flowing this way. So that would cause him to be able to use his right leg as a base from the hip to then propping up onto a leg. But instead, he completely hooks it there, loosens the hook, and then he kicks. This doesn't work. One, Dante does a great job grabbing onto that calf to the ankle to stay in a close enough position. So he keeps it, pulls. Let me slow this down. Let me get the exact frame. So he pushes. There's nothing for Mica to do. Like, there's nothing for him to use on his body to help him stand up. You know what I mean? He would need this leg, this knee to be much closer so that he could swing up, or his head should have been a little bit more to the side there, to then also be able to utilize his elbow. Gets up to an elbow, but Dante's already on him. His leg wasn't in a good position, so now he would just be resting and compressing his collarbones up against his neck. He falls back down. So you're not going to get up by kicking somebody away if bare minimum your leg or your elbow isn't in, like your elbow isn't in place quick enough, or your foot was never your knee here. His whole leg would have had to have been on the ground, and he would have tucked his calf right under his butt, rolled over it. Even with that leg extended, he then would have been able to prop up and post his leg somewhere over here, keeping his arm against Dante's neck, some variation of that. But yeah, from here he got up to his elbow, but his hips were too forward. His leg was never on the ground to be able to slide under. His foot would go right under him, and he would have rolled over right onto his shin, knee, sole of the foot, or top of the foot. Yeah. So Maybe there's not going to be extra time. I don't know. Are they just going to get into like interviews or something like that? Wait for the results. I don't know. But either way, honestly, from the way that I see it, and this is jujitsu, so submissions are what counts. So I think just based off of how aggressive Mica was trying to be and everything like that, and I also think it's good to not necessarily have the commentary on because there's bias and they don't actually talk technical because who wants to listen to that? I've been talking for God knows how long, and has it been fun? For people listening, I have no idea. I'll find out. So now we're getting into a kind of new position, and I like this because it's something to talk about. Mica gets a good bite trying to calf slicer Dante here. Now, I have a gripe with calf slicers that heavily involve the forearm because if somebody's leg is thick enough, I'm going to tell you something. I know it's to pop the knee, but I'll tell you something. It's going to hurt your arm more than it's going to hurt their leg. And you can actually snap your fucking bones, especially when you're... I'm like thinking about my forearms. But, yeah. I'm not too keen on them always working. I think the best way for it to work is to definitely have it from this position. But at the same time, I think calf slicers, involving interlacing legs are almost always the way to go, truthfully. Yeah. And he's selling it. He's selling it. He's just going for it. Sorry, but Dante just he never put himself in a position. Oh, right there, he kind of tries to go for it. Didn't really amount to too much. It's tough. It's tough. From a wrestling perspective, aggression, you would give it to Dante Leon, but I think from an actual jiu-jitsu perspective, attacking submissions, trying to transition through things effectively, I think you got to give the win to Mica. And I know I pointed out a lot of his mistakes. I'm gonna say go 3 more fucking minutes. Nope, and there we go. Yeah, Mica wins. I think that's a fair decision. I think their skill levels are very comparable overall. I just think that one has one is able to do things the other isn't able to do and capitalize on certain things and yada yada yada. But overall, yeah, that was a great match, and that was in 2022. So now we're going to go to their ADCC World Absolute match in 2024, and this one's relatively short. If you don't know who wins, we're about to see who wins. I will say nothing. We will just watch. Little bit of a different approach, not trying to engage with each other as much as the first one. Not too much finger hand fighting. Really just trying to see how they can get in on a leg more so than tying up. They break again. Breaking again. Dante's looking for that duck under, and I think whoever gets under first is going to have the advantage. Mica looking thick. 2 years later, I mean... those steroids are no joke. Yes, Mica has been popped for the roids, for the juice, all that acai they got down in Brazil. But you know what? Fuck it, man. Let them take the steroids. Let them take all the juice they need. Let them do it. So that way, if you beat the Paul Harris, it's like, damn, that dude's legit. Christ, Mica looks massive. He's a thick boy. Engaging with each other a little bit more. And now Dante goes under. Dante, the one who is initiating being under and not attacking so much. This is what's so interesting. You see a complete difference from the first match into the second match. Complete different game plan. So now Mica's the one on top trying to attack. And you see a very similar position here. Dante keeping it a bit more tight, as you can see here. Keeping good frames. And you can kind of see that you see a little bit of the difference in how Mica dives over versus how Dante dives over. Where Mica tries to maintain as much connection and control as possible, as you see with the hands, as much control and contact as possible when trying to dive over, just keeping that connection, trying to be as tight as possible. Whereas Dante is very loose, where he doesn't try to grab and connect until he's already over his opponent. Mica's trying to grab it in transition, you know? And you see it works fairly well until you see that Dante, very good at guard retention, gets into the legs, and now we're in the Achilles heel of Mica. Great rolling, beautiful, beautiful execution by Dante Leon. So, why did this work? It worked because Dante did a great job at keeping his back away from Mica, but also maintaining very close distance. And he fought for this position. Mica, again, very confident, but a little too laxed. He didn't fight the feet quick enough. So we see that Mica just doesn't he doesn't fight the feet quick enough. He realizes too late. He's sitting on his butt, Dante has complete control of both of his legs, transitions under, and then starts attacking the opposite leg that Mica thought he was going to start attacking. And from here, you could feel a little bit of pressure of that knee bar. Mica not doing too much defensively besides trying to, push that knee down, rolling under. And you see how tight that is. You see how tight that is. And from here, if Mica was going to have the best defense, it's about getting up and standing up to relieve that pressure when you're in a standing position. So at which roll is the question that he should have stood up in. From here, it would be pretty impossible to stand up as both of his heels are up in the air. He does a good job scooting away. From here, he could try to run away. Dante Leon doing a great job of following up. But he doesn't necessarily have a heel hook, which makes me question why Mica engaged in the rolling so much when his arm was under and not in the primary position to even get it. And I understand he knows he's probably going to go for a straight ankle lock. So from here, I think now is definitely the time to start getting up, as that tap was following next. So very tight. From here, definitely could have put his foot right in Dante's ass, heel to butthole, and just pushed from there. Would have been difficult, of course, but pushing away. I mean, the guy is fairly strong. But yeah, continuing with the rolling, this is when he should have started to opt to stand up. But you see that this is essentially the key losing point, where he had one hand under and one hand over. If he had both hands over to then press up, pin both of his feet to the mat, he's not in a heel hooking position where you're immediately going to get your knee torn apart. You're going to have a lot of pressure on your ankle, of course. But once Dante, not even belly down, let's put that. He's just in a great position right from here. And you see the bend at that point, and you see he's adding the torque. That's what's also so fucking fascinating. Dante Leon making that adjustment, keeping that hand there, knowing that he's got complete control, and he's just adding to the leverage point, the braking. Boom, gets the tap. Very rarely do you see Mica getting tapped. He's only been submitted twice. One by Cade Rotolo and two by Dante Leon. Back-to-back 80 cc's where Cade got him in the finals, and I think Dante, this was the semifinals? Semi? Maybe? Either way, Dante Leon, fantastic job. Yeah, I think the takeaways from all of this, especially these two going out there and competing against each other, is Manage your energy efficiency at the highest level when you're rolling with people of this degree is very, very, very important. um, I think working on positions that you literally would never think you're going to be in, just saying fuck it and trying things, is what's really going to get you good at jiu-jitsu. In terms of what each guy needs to work on, I mean, it's a given. Mika really needs to work on, his when he's going to decide to relax, and just small things. I mean, I'm fucking correct. I'm trying to correct the world class black belt. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? I think he knows what he's doing. I think he would see these little mistakes and study his own tape and study other people's tape to make the adjustments. And it's also hard actually applying these things. Like, we could talk about it in armchair quarterback, but actually applying it is the difficult part. So, apply this to your training so that it shows in the rules. Dante making massive improvements, showing off that he has a bottom game. Not that he didn't in the first match with Mica, but it was, you see this weird thing where whoever claims bottom first is usually the one that's going to try to play it for the remainder of the match. And then the other person, if they get on bottom, feel like they're then losing. And that's just, that's a correction of mindset, I think. So, yeah, that concludes that. Thank you, everybody, for coming and watching and doing this with me. I want to do more. I'm going to upload this as a full video. I'm going to download it, upload it. Thank you for your support. We're going to come out with some more gaming videos. I would like to do this more. I'll probably also do this on my own channel over at Jason's WAF. I also have a second channel, Jason's Office, where I will be, more consistent with those things. But I'm trying to do at least a video a day and really just trying to make as much content as possible and yada, yada, yada. I know I'm talking your ear off. So I will, yeah, that's it, right? Wait, why is there a warning? Whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, goodbye.